Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar focusing on the Urban Footprint winter release. My name is Andrew Federer, and I'm Vice President of Marketing at Urban Footprint, and today I'm joined by Ben Bussey, our Head of Product Management. We're super excited to be introducing you to all the great new features that are now available in Urban Footprint, as well as a set of new planning resources that you have available at your fingertips. Let's take a look at today's agenda. We'll start off with a brief recap of Urban Footprint's core capabilities. After that, I'll introduce you to a new tool that our customer success team now uses with customers, helping them understand and quantify how Urban Footprint impacts your team's efficiency. Finally, I'll review a few new resources available on our website that can help you understand how Urban Footprint can be applied to real-world planning challenges. Urban Footprint is built on a foundation of 30 years of cutting-edge planning and design experiences. We're not just another software company. We ourselves are planners and understand the challenges and opportunities that you are going after. Urban Footprint itself is built to support sustainable urban planning and design with easy access to three key capabilities. First, Urban Footprint provides users with the data they need to understand existing conditions anywhere in the United States. Second, Urban Footprint supports scenario workflows for rapid plan development and iteration. And finally, Urban Footprint includes analysis models to understand impacts and develop reports for clear communication to decision makers. So those three capabilities translate into ways that you can advance your planning. A practitioner can get up and running quickly. She'll spend more of her time planning and less time looking for data and cleaning it up. Urban Footprint makes testing scenarios easy and understanding impacts is built in. This means that more planning and design projects can be informed by a clear understanding of the environmental, health, social, transportation, and fiscal impacts. Urban Footprint allows you to create a project anywhere in the United States. Once in a project, the Urban Footprint base canvas contains key information you need to understand the built environment, including land use, parcel, building, and irrigated data, built form details, residential and employment mix, and much more. In addition to the base canvas, Urban Footprint's built-in reference layers provide you with the additional context you need for your projects. Over 800 reference layers cover categories including environmental and resilience, infrastructure, transportation, land use, census data, and much more. Not only can you create compelling standalone exhibits with these reference layers, but you can also use Urban Footprint's spatial query tools to join layers, create buffers around map features, and much more. Urban Footprint's scenario toolset allows you to analyze potential future development so you can find the best solution for your project. Change land use from its current form to its proposed use by using our library of buildings and places, or use our built form manager to create your own unique types. As you develop your scenarios, you can test them using Urban Footprint's analytics. Quickly see the impacts of the proposed development and evaluate it against a wide range of factors using all the analytics that you see on the slide. We've been working with customers over the past few months to help them understand how Urban Footprint impacts their team's productivity. We've seen some really amazing results across three areas. First, these teams have saved time in developing proposals using Urban Footprint by leveraging its built-in data sets and facile cartographic tool sets. Second, teams are seeing even greater savings when using Urban Footprint for the existing conditions phase of their projects, realizing a time savings of 25 to 75%. Finally, we're seeing firms that use Urban Footprint as part of their proposals increase their win rate. Proposals can include more detailed information, for example, including the results from analytics on current land use, such as walk access or resilience, and even including some speculative scenario development. Let's take a look at an ROI analysis for using UrbanFootprint on the existing conditions phase of planning projects for a 30-person planning team. Starting with how that firm currently completes its existing conditions reports, we found that they spend about 320 hours per project and do about 30 projects per year. That means that they'll spend 9,600 person hours per year, which translates into about $625,000 in staff costs. Using UrbanFootprint, that firm has seen a 25% decrease in the time they spend on the existing conditions phase of a project. So now they are only spending 240 hours per project, saving the firm roughly $155,000 per year in staff costs. Overall, the firm is saving 2,400 hours of staff time, which can then be billed back out to clients for other work, resulting in a billable potential of over $360,000 per year. Our customers are seeing some pretty amazing results. If you'd like to learn more about this program, just send us a comment in the webinar chat or reach out to your customer success manager. We've also published new blogs since our last webinar, so if you haven't already read them, I'd encourage you all to read about our work with the Nature Conservancy on the Conservation Analysis module, our blog highlighting how easy it is to use UrbanFootprint for analyzing accessibility, and our blog describing how UrbanFootprint can be used to assess fire risk. We also published a new ebook titled Data-Driven Planning for City Resilience, Climate Adaptation, and Recovery. It covers all the new resilience analytics in UrbanFootprint, fire, flood, and sea level rise, and explains how to use them in your projects. We've also published 3 new case studies. The first case study focuses on how our customer Placeworks is using UrbanFootprint as part of their proposal development process. The second new case study looks at how the Association of Monterey Bay Area Governments is using UrbanFootprint to support their Metropolitan Transportation Plan and Sustainable Community Strategy. The third new case study looks at how the City of San Diego applies UrbanFootprint to their existing conditions phase of their neighborhood planning process and is able to shave 2 months of the time it takes them to complete that work. So with that said, I'd like to turn things over to Ben to discuss what's new in UrbanFootprint.
Great. Hi, everyone. My name is Ben Bussey, Director of Product Management at UrbanFootprint.
Let's go through the feature enhancements that we're talking through in Q4 2018. We have a lot of really exciting stuff that we want to share with you today. The major focus of this release is cartography. So we've spent a ton of time, really invested our engineering resources to make map making in UrbanFootprint kind of the best that it can be in terms of a web-based product that provides just stellar cartography. So the first thing I want to cover is the ability to really customize your map appearance with map symbology. So this is really important because one of the core things, obviously, in UrbanFootprint is the ability to build, construct the maps that you want and do that in a really intuitive way. So what we've done is provided a bunch of new features. You're able now to style maps based on geometry. So we've added, in addition to polygon and line, point support, which you see in the screenshot right here. You can set your point size, your fill, and your stroke settings. So this is really useful for things like transit, when you want to get the right points on your map and do it in a way that's useful. We've also, in addition to auto-generated classification bins, so you'll notice in the product, obviously today we have support for default bins and various different classification schemes that come out of the box, like equal, interval, and quantiles. But in addition, now you can actually define your own custom classification bin. So this is really, really key feature that we just shipped to production. And we would love to hear feedback on this. Basically, in the screenshot here, you can see you can use the pencil icon to edit. You can use the trash can to remove bins. And then right in the classes drop down there, there's a little plus button. And that lets you add bins. So you can have as many as you want, and you can specify exactly what they are. So another great thing that we did is we added base map labels. So this is a great feature for obviously having your default base maps look exactly the way you want. We have 12 different available base maps you can see in the screenshot, for example, light, dark, basic, and so forth. Here we've selected terrain in the top one and schematic in the bottom one. And then the checkboxes along the left there, before you had elevation contours and 3D buildings. Now you have things like city labels, place labels, points of interest, roads and rail labels, and water labels. So the beauty of this is you can turn your base map labels on and off, and you can export them as well. So this gives you a lot more control over exactly what you're adding to your map. And in terms of roadmap, we'll be adding more of these base maps in the future, and we will be adding additional features to the export capability like annotation and so forth. But this is a really great start, and we're super excited, and we hope that you're excited about this feature along the theme of best-in-class cartography. The next thing I'll talk about is map export. So you can export maps to your desired scale, position, and file format. So in this screenshot here, we mentioned this in the last webinar in terms of the roadmap. So this has all shipped recently. You can save your map positions. So this is the idea of remembering the position in GIS software. It's often called extents. This is a similar concept made really, really easy. So here I've got West End selected, but you could have different map positions selected. You can set the map scale, obviously, the orientation, the size, and the quality. And lastly, we've added support for vector graphics. So you can export an individual map layer as an SVG file and directly import that into tools like Adobe Illustrator. So that's really, really helpful. The idea behind all of this is obviously to be able to create the maps that you want inside of UrbanFootprint, but then to get them out into the displays, the presentations, and so forth. If you're doing an existing conditions report or working on a proposal, get it into the format that you want and make it visually rich and obviously fit the format of what you're presenting. Here, there's this quick screenshot of the download. So here you see shapefile, CSV, which has been supported, and additionally at the bottom, there's SVG support as well. The next area in cartography that we've released is a major redesign of the layer list. So this is the ability to really see which layers that you're working with, drag and drop them around just with using your mouse, hide and show them, and filter. So if you're doing joins, you can easily click to filter. And the idea behind this feature is that because it's so essential to your everyday work, we've really optimized the user experience. There's also the whole detail pane. So to the right, you see the painted canvas there. So you can style, which are mentioned in symbology, build, filter, constrain, and then you can see the source data, which kind of annotates where the data is coming from. So that is a really effective way to build the maps you want and do it in minimal time with minimal effort. So now I'm going to turn to the analysis and data enhancements that we've done in Q4 2018. So the first thing, which is a major, is building footprint. So you can visualize the built area on your maps. This is really a way of kind of getting the lay of the land with respect to the built area, obviously. So this data, interestingly, was released by Microsoft in the summer, in June of 2018. We brought it into UrbanFootprint. It's a big data set. So there's 125 million building footprint geometries, which are computer generated. It's quite comprehensive, so it covers all data in the 50 US states. And it's pretty compelling. So we hope that you take advantage of this feature. And if you have questions about it, we're here to help you. This is really exciting if you're doing work in California. We have new sea rise data for California. This consists of basically two different data sets. The first is called Cosmos. So this is from the USGS for the Southern California. And in addition, for Northern California, we have CalFlood 3D data with detailed modeling. So the way this works is it works kind of in two ways. You can bring in these data sets as raster layers. So you can, in this graphic here, we're depicting the Bay Area, the South Peninsula with sea level rise. The darker, the deeper, the lighter blue is lighter and depth. And so you can kind of, with symbology editing in this data set, you can make kind of stunning visualizations of sea rise, which really are quite impactful and quite expressive of the issues that we're facing right now. So that's really effective. The other thing that's nice about this is like the Cosmos data set is actually the new default for Southern California for the risk and resilience module. So if you're doing modeling and you want to see the impacts of this data on your community, on your city, and you're in California, we highly encourage you to try this out and use it. It exposes scenarios for up to 5 meters of sea rise. So take a look at that and try it out. Lastly, you probably have heard through our announcement, through our customer success team. If you haven't, this is really important, and you should be aware of it. So we have some significant enhancements to the transportation module. We have updated transit data and transportation module performance improvements. The updated data is basically the nationwide transit line and stop reference layers for Q4 2018. So basically, previously, the data was a bit older than that. So your new projects will use the latest data. And this latest data actually adds 45 new transit system feeds, and it includes updates to the existing transit feeds as well. Your existing projects, if you've already used the transportation modeling, will use the existing data, so you don't have to worry about your results changing, but new projects will use this new GTFS reference data. The other key thing is we've worked hard to optimize the performance of the transportation module. So if you're using the transportation module to do analytics, it runs a lot faster now, about 50% faster on average. So that's really nice. Here you're looking at the Eastern Seaboard, basically a map in UrbanFootprint showing the new transit lines, the latest GTFS data. And likewise, if you look at the West Coast, a nice visualization there. You can see the information there on the West Coast, but of course it covers the entire country. So we have opened up Q&A through chat. If you have questions, please ask. I will now turn to a preview of the product roadmap and discuss what we're planning on doing in the next 9 months. So just to recap, our Q4 focus was on best-in-class cartography. We talked about that, so really making map making as best as it can be. We will continue to polish those features and make them better and better over time, but we will now be switching our attention to a major area of the product, which is scenario analysis. And what we're working on now, that we will release at the end of Q1, which is the end of March 2019, is the analysis assumptions editor. And so what that is, and I'll show a screenshot in a moment, basically the ability to edit the inputs to all of the analysis modules. So this is a huge feature. It's been sought and asked for a long time, and we're working through that. And if you have feedback or questions on that, please don't hesitate to ask in the webinar here. We're also going to refine the process identifications in the system. So a lot of processes are asynchronous in the product. So you're running an analysis and something's going on in the background. So we're going to make the activities a lot more intuitive and understandable. And then we're going to polish our symbology. On the data side, we're going to add a bunch of new reference data sets. We're doing a big data audit to make sure that the analysis module is working, that you can understand the inputs, understand the algorithms, and then understand the outputs, and that is all really solid. That goes hand in hand with the analysis assumptions editor. We're going to be updating our census data. We're going to be updating our base canvas, which is really key. And then another really key thing will be regionalized model inputs. This has been asked, so instead of a one-size-fits-all input for each model, we're going to start to regionalize so you have more specific model inputs for the region of the country that you are in. In Q2 and Q3, starting with Q2, we're going to turn our attention most likely to custom transit. We're pretty confident this is the right direction. We would love your input on that. We are going to implement a custom transit module, which will let you, basically draw your own transit scenarios with stops, whether it's rail or bus, etc., and then model what would happen if you do that. We're going to add the ability to have more granular control over your parcels, so the ability to subdivide parcels. And we're really going to shore up things like categorical columns when you have a lot of entries, say hundreds or even thousands of entries for a given column in UrbanFootprint that you want to map or do analysis on. We're going to make that a lot more usable and remove limitations there. We will also add this notion of expression columns, which is the idea of calculation. So things like density will be enabled, so you can map those and model those. And then 3D data extrusion will be really, really key. So that is the ability to, and we're working on this now actually, the ability to do 3D maps in UrbanFootprint. So that should be really exciting and get the product to a really outstanding state with respect to cartography. And then lastly, in Q3, we will work a lot on geospatial operations. So improve the current capabilities from a user experience perspective for filtering, buffering, and joining. But also rethinking from the ground up of how these operations work, how we can make them easy, and how we can provide the level of sophistication that users want in a way that can be learned quickly and used by every type of planner that's out there. Even if you're not, a GIS expert, you will be able to get into UrbanFootprint and do really sophisticated things. We will also deal with master planning. So that's what user uploaded parcels is. And then we will provide more control over your context area, over the region that you're doing a project for. So your project area or your context area, and the way you're bringing in layers will provide very granular control over the areas and the buffer zones, for example, in your projects. So that's kind of a very high level. I want to turn to a couple of screenshots to give people a flavor for what's coming up imminently on the roadmap in Q2. This screenshot is a view of the analysis assumptions editor. So what this does along the top is you have your base scenario, you have some parameters for an analysis module, say perhaps it's energy use or water use, and you have a bunch of scenarios, in this case one, or actually 5 scenarios on the top, and you will actually be able to edit the parameters that are used at the scenario level and change those at will. And then you can compare them visually, you can reset them to the defaults if you want, and then you can spawn even new scenarios based on existing scenarios. So this gives you a bird's eye view of the inputs to your scenarios and it makes it easy to edit them. And then you can run the analysis and get the outputs and compare them side by side. It's very much like a spreadsheet kind of view, and it will be that kind of easy input kind of user experience that we're seeking here. The process notifications, I'll quickly touch on that. So there are a bunch of areas here in the screenshot here. We want to provide a lot more feedback about what's happening. So when you create a project, for example, there are things running in the background. It takes a little time to create a project, particularly if it's a large area. So this feature is really about exposing what's happening so that you have knowledge about what's going on and roughly when it's going to finish. So a lot more feedback there. It will be in context. So we're going to focus on the areas that you're using the most and the areas that, that take time. So that's kind of what we're going to focus. There are many system messages now, but we want to improve the context of those messages and make them look a lot better. And here's a quick overview of how that behavior will be brought into the product. A couple examples here on the left, for example, if you're uploading a layer, we will indicate with a spinner what's going on. There will be mini toasts, we call them snack bars, so these little black boxes that indicate what's actually occurred, if it's completed. If it's in process, you'll have an indicator, for example, the spinner, that something's going on. And then we want to provide actually a lot of actions. So if there, for example, was an error or something that took a long time, we want to make it easy to allow you to retry it in context, particularly if you're doing a very complex analysis on a lot of data, that can take time. So that's right around the corner in Q1, both of those features. So that's it. We covered a lot today. Would love to hear any questions that people have, and let's take it from there. Any questions?
Okay, so question came in looking for more information on the ROI analysis. Question was basically the numbers in the ROI analysis don't line up with the numbers for our firm. How can I get an ROI analysis that is specific to my team? So I think the answer here would be to just reach out to us. We'd be happy to work with you. You can reach me at andy@urbanfootprint.com, or you can contact your customer success manager, and we'll set up a time to talk to you about this. Let's see, are there any other questions that we have? We were also joined by Jason from our customer success team. He's been manning the chat here. So Jason, do you have any other questions for us?
Yeah, we do. So we've been getting a couple of questions on sea level rise. So folks want to know when sea level rise will be available in other states.
So that's a great question. We are adding more and more data sets, and actually we're evaluating in that regard. We know that sea level rise is actually an urgent issue, and we would love to know where you're from, and we can actually prioritize that depending on the geography. Of course, assuming that that data is available, so we have to be able to actually get the data. So is there any input from the location where they're at?
No, but I would also add that we have the NOAA coverage nationally,
and
regardless.
FEMA as well.
So and FEMA coverage.
Yeah.
So we have that sea level coverage nationally, and then if you have specific inputs, like you said, Ben, for additional local resources that you'd like to see in Urban Footprint, they can definitely let us know about that.
Okay, so I have another question here from someone who says they have some thoughts on our upcoming features. They may be interested in sharing some input on what they'd like to see. Ben, do you have any comments on how they could maybe work with you on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So first thing, you can always email me directly. And so I lead the team here doing product development. My email is ben@urbanfootprint.com. The other thing I'll say is we're very keen to set up meetings both on the experience you're having with the product today, as well as our roadmap. And I know we've spoken to a number of customers about the roadmap, but if you have input on features that exist today, on things that you're having problems with or challenges with, we encourage you to let us know. The first contact there will be our customer success team. So you can reach out via the chat or via the email to our customer success team, contact them, let them know that you have input, and we are happy to set up a meeting anytime to discuss what you need. These can be very quick, just a 30-minute session, and we can get on a GoToMeeting and do either usability feedback or just talk about features that you would like to see or questions that you have about what's happening either in the future or what's in the product today.
Well, thanks, Ben. I think that provides all customers here a number of paths to follow up on there. Jason, looks like we have another question coming in.
We do. So we have some participants that are just curious as to whether or not some of the new layers that you mentioned, so we've got transit, we've got the building footprint layers, if they're available nationally, if we've got good coverage for that, for those pieces of information.
So with respect to the new data sets, the building footprints is a national data set. So it's comprehensive. It covers the entire country, all 50 states. The Cosmos and the CalAdapt data, that's California specific. And
the transit.
The transit, yeah. So GTFS is also national. So that covers the entire country. It's basically, GTFS data is in the product, has been, it's used a lot. This was really a refresh or an update to that data. So it's also the same entire country coverage there.
Okay, another question came in here regarding SVG support. Can you maybe go into details on what someone could actually do with an exported SVG layer?
Yeah, definitely. So SVG, so the first thing about that, just to make sure that people understand, is it's not, you're exporting a single layer at a time as an SVG file. And that file does not actually maintain the fill or the stroke properties, but what it has is the subgroupings that are basically the equivalent of the bins or the classes that you've defined. Basically, the layer symbology defined in Urban Footprint is exported, and you have the metadata for that symbology. So what you can do is, because that metadata is in the export, you can then color it as you want in Illustrator. So that's the first phase of this feature. We will be enhancing it in the future, but this basically gets you the symbology that you have in Urban Footprint, and then you know, kind of in Illustrator, you can cosmetically make it however you want based on the subgroupings that's in the file.
And then we have one additional question for Ben or Andy about whether or not flooding information is available in the resilience, risk and resilience module. So people seem to be interested in risk and resilience and want to know the breadth of information that's covered in that module.
So with sea level rise, I mean, there is that information's available. You know, it would be interesting to know what state you're in as well. So if you're in California, you'd want to be using the Cosmos or Cal data.
Sure, and I think specifically for flooding, so in addition to sea level rise, and I can jump in and say that we do have flooding coverage as well from FEMA. We've got the FEMA maps and all the different designations for flooding levels in, across the U.S. And so if you're working with risk and resilience and you're interested in either sea level rise or flooding, we've got information available for you in Urban Footprint.
Yeah, that's a good point because it's not, right, so that covers areas that are not on the ocean as well. So if it's just you're in the Midwest, for example, that data is available from a flood risk perspective.
Definitely.
Okay, so I think that takes us to the end of our webinar today. I'd like to thank everyone who attended. Really appreciate you chiming in with your questions and taking the time out of your day to learn what's new in Urban Footprint. And on behalf of Ben and Jason, wish you a good rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you.